What's going on, everyone? It's Zex. Today I'll be making a build video on basically my grew up fighter since I finally decided to quit it. This build is basically a high crit slam build, but I play it more in a weird way unlike other grab fighters. It's a really phenomenal build. It works really good even from low tier all the way to high end, even end game dungeons. We start off with the gear and the points. I don't have best in slot. I never really plan on going for it ever since, I just decided to quit playing my character. But what you really prefer as a grip fighter is a 3-piece Vivified set. Not your helmet though. In my opinion, you should either get a Jarl's Gaze or a Bloodlord's Visage. That's what I have on right now. But yeah, 3-piece Vivified set or your relic gear. And your main hand and offhand should by far best in slot is actually your relic gear that you get from running Sea of Moving Ice and FBI and NSVA, MSVA. Enchantment wise, for offensive slots, until you reach 100% crit chance with bondings proc or anything like that, use Azures just to boost your crit up. As defensive slots, I use Azures. I've always used Azures just because as this build, the more defense you have, it's more power. Basically, in the Feats trees, we'll start off with the Feats anyways. 3 out of 3 in Disciple of Strength, 4 out of 5 on Style of Action. I don't put any points in the toughness. I really don't see a reason why. As you can see, my HP is 104,000. 3% of that is like around like 3k or so more HP, which really doesn't help me at all. Past those feats, I go to Endless Assault, more damage free encounters. Steely Defense, 5 out of 5, grant you power equal to your defense basically. Devastating Critical, this increases your crit severity by 15%. And Weapon Mastery, increase your critical chance by 3%. If you're a human, you can max it out. I only put 2 out of 3 because I'm not a human, obviously. If I was, I would max this out, put the rest of the points into probably HP. I mean, everything else just seems pointless to me. And then we go down Destroyer Path, which is the main tree. Great Weapon Focus, which increases your at-will powers by 10%. Grants you power, Disciple of War, 5 out of 5. Grants you power equal to 25% of your recovery and armor penetration. Mighty Blade, AoE damage increased by 12.5%. A lot of other Grub fighters that I see usually run staying power, but mitigation is not, I've never really seen that much of an increase in DPS, because mitigation is more like the target dealing less damage to you than you dealing more damage to it, in my opinion. AoE damage, basically a lot of people don't understand, but AoE damage is like your, let's say, Hidden Daggers or your Daring Shout, which is AoE. Basically, you mark every target around that vicinity of your Daring Shout. Weapon Master Strike is also an AoE. It's a cone attack. Any cone attack is basically considered AoE. It's an area of effect. It's an affected area. Execution Style and Battle Rush Strike just 30% more bonus damage as the target's health diminishes. And Focus Destroyer. Charges 25% of grant stack when hitting a number of targets. Additionally, Destroyer grants you 3.5% bonus damage per stack. And then Battle Awareness. This is the main key. Savage Advance is the main thing that we'll use, but really what really matters is that Slam grants you 25% more power while it is active. And Destroyer's Purpose. Obviously, you gain more damage while you gain Destroyer's Purpose. That's basically what it is. And the bottom path, the last 10 feat points, I use Unstoppable Recovery. This is more for survivability, because as soon as you gain your determination up, where you can activate your Unstoppable, you gain 5% of your hit points. Some people like to choose Deflection. I mean, by all means, go ahead, but I really don't see no purpose in it, because you always want survivability. If you deflect, you deflect, but it's not that much of an increase, especially if you don't have your deflection severity up. And Powerful Challenge. This is really key, especially if you use Daring Shout. You do an additional 15% damage to marked targets. Powers, basically, I use Destroyer, Sure Strike. Destroyer is more of a passive. Sure Strike is an at-will. Slam as my daily, always. And Weapon Mastery as of right now. I mean, if I was 100% crit chance, I wouldn't use Weapon Mastery. I would use Destroyer and Wrathful Determination. Basically, this gains up to 5% melee damage as your turn fills up. That's double when it is full. It starts to diminish once you activate Unstoppable, but hey, you gain that bonus damage while you raise it up, you know. Sometimes you decide not to use Unstoppable for like a couple seconds just to gain more damage. Sometimes you do. This depends on how fast you spam your character. Daring Shout. This is where you get your mark from, and also gives you 15% defense increase for while it's active. Weapon Mastery increases your crit chance by 1.5, stacks up 3 times. Basically 6 when you have it maxed out. And Weapon Master Strike is one of them AoE at wills, well, or a trash mob. If there's a group of mobs around you, I use Weapon Master Strike. And IBS. Basically, it gains you action points. It also can mark the target, and it does a shit ton of damage. So for my points, basically, it's all strength and dex. Strength is damage bonus, and crit, dex is just crit chance. For weapon and armor enchant slots, I'd prefer a negation, and here is where it gets tad bit confusing for a lot of people. If you don't have max crit severity, which can be gained from various amounts of things like boons from Tyranny of Dragons, potions, Wildstorm elixirs, potency potions, you have companions, the Earnest of Belial, the Combat Magnus. These are just companions that get you crit severity. Once you max out crit severity, but if you don't, I suggest a Vorpal. If you do max out crit severity, for trash mobs, I really recommend the Lightning. But for anything else of a boss that lasts around 10 to 15 seconds, like Orchid, especially if you're endgame, I would definitely recommend a Transcendent Holy Avenger. Why? Because you gain a massive amount of weapon damage as well as a heal in case you start to like die or something. Your artifacts, I run the Sigil of the Devoted. To me, it's people run the Wheel of Elements, but I still outperform people who run the Wheel of Elements just because I get to be able to spam my daily way more frequently than other people can. My set, I run an Orca set. Obviously, you gain a 20% bonus damage depending on the difference in HP between you and the target, which that usually really helps out when the boss is around 40%. That's when it really starts to kick in. Rings, the 2 rings I would actually use, especially if I'm at 100% crit chance. Ring of Sun Lifesteal, you can never go wrong with Lifesteal. This is like great survivability, especially the Ring of Sun Lifesteal. If you have this ring, I recommend you use this, especially if you're a low character and you like to get in a group of ads and just swing away. Always have a Ring of Sun Lifesteal. This really works in well a lot. Second ring, I will recommend the Ring of Brutality or Ring of Rising Power. Those 2 rings are phenomenal, especially because more power, more damage. The way Steel Defense comes involved, which is the feat right here. The reason why I run Azures is because if I have more defense, as you can see, I gain more power. I have 13k defense, I got 25k power. Now if I take off a chest piece, which I lose defense, my power dropped, as you can see, dramatically from 25k to 26k. Now if I equip it, or if I take off another piece of arm or a helmet, you can see it still dropped again. Now the more I take this off, the less defense I have, the less power I have, which is why Steel Defense is so good. Like I said, more defense equals more survivability. More defense also requires more power. More power equals more damage. Here's to where it gets a little tricky from a lot of people. The way I play my Graven Fighter, anytime I run into a group of trash mobs, especially if I'm doing CN or anything, I run in, I pop that, my Daring Shout, I throw daggers, swing, throw daggers again, get unstoppable, swing again with my Weapon Master, hidden daggers, IBS. That's basically it. You're always repetitioning, but if you have your daily up, this is where it gets really fun, obviously, because the more damage. You pop your daily, run in, use your hidden Daring Shout, hidden daggers, Daring Shout, Weapon Master Strike, back into your unstoppable, Weapon Master Strike, IBS. That's about it. It's pretty simple. The more, obviously, the more you have your daily up, the more 25% power gain you get from Slam and Defeat. of battle awareness. So let's see how much my power goes to. It goes to 31k with, this is without bondings or anything. My companion doesn't have any bondings. Oh, I totally forgot, but we'll get into that in a second. I don't have any bondings, but my opinion, once you have, basically you would go for power and crit. At rank 12 with a legendary companion, rank 12 bondings, you will gain over 14k power or so, around that. And no, not 14k, 10k power, I'm so sorry. And about 1500 crit or so, and 1500 defense, since you know this rank 12 bondings only give you power and not defense or crit, but this companion gives you that. As you can see, if I unequip these, companion has obviously crit power, and apparently not this companion, but some companions give defense. Companions I would recommend using is obviously 2 Archons. Brightness of Belial, this increases your crit severity by 5%. Archon increases your damage against targets not at full health by 5% each. And each additional Archon, so usually you would have a fire and an air Archon. Each additional Archon increases your bonus damage by 0.5%, which is 2 Archons. I have 3 because scrap character. It would be 1.5 more percent, so that would be about 6.5% more damage with the active bonus. Brightness of Belial at legendary, I think it's 10% crit severity, and then I would recommend not Siege Master, and then a Combat Magnus, or what other people use is what is that one companion called? What you use as a primary companion, which is something you always have summoned, is a Sellsword or a Con Artist. This basically, these companions, they have this is why they're best in slot, basically. The reason why people use Sellswords, if they have the gear from running Illusionist Gambit, is because of this. Consumed by battle, define a strike or wicked strike, shreds 10% of the target's defense. This is stackable as of right now. I've heard they're gonna patch it or so. People run Con Artists as well, just because of how simply easy it is to gear it up, since it's a 3-ring slot companion. You can obviously tell, ring, ring, ring. It also has the same skill as well, consumed by battle. But the Sellsword, the reason why it's best in slot is because it attacks faster and it's much better. Now here's one weird thing I do with my build. Well, not my build, but the way I play with my character. I like to do a thing called animation cancel. Like usually if you use a Daring Shout, you go through this whole animation right there. But when I use Daring Shout, which I'll have to wait till it cools down, I like to use it kind of a weird way. Give me a second while I get it back. Okay. So here's how I use it. When I go in battle, I would just cancel out the animation, go back into it. That's about it. You can easily do this multiple times. It's really simple. You just, as soon as you see about your animation go off a tad bit, because sometimes this can really mess you up. Like if you do this with hidden daggers, it won't proc. But if you do it just in time to where you see it proc like that, you don't have to sit there and do the whole animation. You can just dagger, run forward, enter target, battle. You can also do it IBS like that and run forward, right back into swinging. And the faster you do it, the more viable it is. As you can see, you can just sustain your animation cancels, and you always just go right back into swinging. It's really viable and it's really good. That's how I usually keep up with a lot of other people. A lot of people don't realize that you can do this, but I do it a lot. Sometimes you can cancel out your animation and it won't proc, but make sure you get it in and make sure it works. That's all I have, basically. I usually am able to out DPS a lot of constituents and a lot of other people just as this type of build. I scrapped this character just because it was boring, but that shouldn't matter anymore to me. I've been playing this game for 4 years, so I know basics about every other character in the game. If you guys even have any questions, feel free to tell me, and I'm out. Peace out. Alright guys, sorry for the split break right there. I forgot something really important. I forgot the boons, so we'll go through the boons first. Alright, starting at Chandar. Obviously, you just want to go this whole bottom row. Anything above really doesn't really matter. 400 power, more damage, crit, better chance to crit. Action point, you really need action points to get your slam back faster. These really are, I'm really biased in, because this only procs to one person, and it happens, but it's only 20,000 damage, while this heals you for 20k. Elvish Fury. Obviously, when you kill a foe, you gain 135 power for 45 seconds. Every time, this doesn't go away until you actually 45 seconds without combat. Dread Ring, I went crit strike instead of power, because I was lacking crit. I went lifesteal, which more lifesteal means you can lifesteal survivability. Resistance ignored. Basically, you pierce through enemies' armor. Deflection chance really doesn't matter unless you're going for PvP. And rage growth, I chose this over dealing necrotic damage because it really doesn't proc that often when I used it back in the day. I like this because when I do get hit, I can heal myself in case I'm about to die, and I gain 4,000 more defense, which basically saying 4,000 defense, that's what, around 50% of that. I will gain about an extra 2,000 defense, sorry. And Rampaging Madness, this is key. This is so important. You gain 4,000 power, 4,000 lifesteal, and 4,000 regen for 10 seconds after you reach a maximum stack of 50 madness. It will disappear after 10 seconds. For Icewind Dale, I went bottom row still. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. 400 combat advantage, 400 stamina gain, crit severity, cool resolve. When I'm usually in combat, I use a lot of stamina just so I can get my 2,000 power. Winter's Bounty is really good, especially when you're fighting trash mobs and you want to get your daily back faster. You have a chance to gain 10% action points when killing a target. Underdark campaign, I really just went bottom row as well. 400 power, 400 crit strike, 10% combat advantage damage, stamina regain, and this really doesn't matter. I rather use this. Basically, I have a chance to outright kill anything, which is basically instant killing anything. So about a 5% chance. This really only is effective in demonic encounters or CN. It only kills the ape-looking things and the wizards and the shadow demons, stuff like that. Nothing above the Nalfazars and the Nelfashines. Tyranny of Dragons, I went power, crit, defense, lifesteal, and crit severity. Obviously, crit severity, the harder your crits hit, that's all that really matters. For guild boons, I recommend you guys to, if you're in a guild that you know is gonna level up really fast, stay in that guild. They're really helpful. It really helps you out. This increases my power for about 6,000 right now. We're gonna max it out soon, so it really doesn't matter. Defense, obviously, more defense equals more power. So this goes with this. So if I take this off, I will have 6k defense with 23k power. I basically just lost 2,000 power just off of that without that boon, and that really matters a lot. Now if I put it back on, 25k power, 12k defense, which is really, really important. Utility slots, I use mount speed. I don't use gold game because I have the canvas gauntlets, and I don't use experience points because I'm level 70. PvP really doesn't matter to me. Maze Engine, I chose 5% lifesteal severity, 400 combat advantage damage, and more action point gain. Baphomet's Might, which basically when I strike somebody, I have a chance to gain 2,000 crit, which is really, really good compared to these other boons around here. These are most likely for tanks or healers and stuff like that, but this is really good. You get 2,000 crit. Elemental Evil, I chose Wave of Force, 300 power, 400 lifesteal severity, 400 crit, and Guild of Retribution. Once you're at 100% crit chance, I would rather use Wall of Wind. It's the same thing, except this one gives you 1,000 recovery and this one gives you 1,000 crit. For Storm King's Thunder, I chose 2% lifesteal severity, 400 stamina gain, 2,000 recovery based on how much stamina guard you were missing, and Vengeful Heat. I didn't know what to choose between these. I mean, 3200 HP isn't really a lot, so I just decided to get more damage. I really don't know what to go for in this boon. I would probably use Chill of Winter or Titan's Affinity. Not Titan's Affinity, sorry. Frozen Reflection. These are really good. For Cloaked Ascendancy, I went Aura of Hope. This is basically a group boost. And once it emits an Aura of Hope, that boosts AP gain for all allies within 25 feet for 10 seconds. And second boon, which is the Cabal boon, I chose 2% crit severity and 1000 maximum points. Third boon, which is Nostura's boon, I chose 500 lifesteal, more lifesteal, better chance of lifesteal and surviving. That's it. Any questions or anything else you guys have in mind to ask, make sure to feel free to leave it in the comments. Thank you, and I'm out.